But I want
Well,
to
let's
follow up on
talk
this.
about let's
Yeah.
talk about the scam or the cult movie here. Now that we're talking about the
Let's
hex stuff too.
let's do it. Yeah, we're not going to do a full breakdown because I
No,
saw
I don't
Jim
want
Rat
to.
Crypto and Stolt just literally like watched the whole thing earlier, I think, and reacted a long way with it. But yeah, I keep forgetting the name of the channel. It's not like above average.
No, I don't want to give them
Upper
any.
up. I won't even say it.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to advertise for them because
I think what I said is like a synonym for what they're titled. But anyway,
yeah.
so there's a
Either way,
26-minute. I'm not going to call it a documentary, but a 26-minute piece on.
it's a hit piece.
Yeah, I guess so, and I do have conflicting thoughts here. So and I think it's good to hear a conversation from you and I because you being like a day one OG Hexican versus me who isn't, and kind of sees it from afar a little bit while still obviously supporting it and investing in it. But so yeah, it's more centered around the cult of Hex or Hex being a cult, which to me. I don't really care about as much as whether or not the, you know, smart contract works and what the product actually is. So that's why to me a lot of it was fluff and I didn't really care about it.
Right.
But you watched it the day it came out, I think yesterday. So give me your view, and if we're not going to advertise who actually made it or anything, I guess kind of for anybody listening who hasn't seen it, it maybe discuss what it is a little bit, but it's called, I think, the Cult of Hex.
Yeah.
But yeah, give me your initial thoughts on it, what they got right, what they got wrong. I imagine you're not going to think too much was right.
Well,
Yeah.
they did get some stuff right. You know, they. My feeling about it is they've exhausted the scam narrative for so long.
Mhm.
Now that we've had 3 years, over 3 years now of 100% flawless uptime, I think they're changing their narrative and being like, oh shit, now we can't really call it a scam because nobody's lost their money. You got new people coming in all the time. Let's call it a cult. So it was more based on that, about how Richard is the leader, and yeah, it was a smear piece, basically, is what I thought it was, about how um, they really dove into the crypto Sparbook guys, and because they went on the tour last year, the 555 tour,
Oh yeah.
around the country to introduce Hex to people. Well, they said, they were going around and uh, they took one scene of one of the giveaways, and it was a little kid.
I saw
They
that.
they
Yeah.
made it look terrible. They made it look
Yeah.
like we're wrangling children into this, and it's not.
And in a
You know,
vacuum, that comment was dumb. I mean, like
it was
the comment to the little girl was like, "You're not ever going to have to work again, or you're not going to have to work the rest of your life now because you have a hex stake or whatever." I mean, yeah, I mean that looks stupid because
right,
I mean, I wouldn't tell somebody not to work because you know what I mean,
right.
obviously. But
And
yeah, I agree with
obviously
you.
that was in jest.
Yeah,
It just,
yeah, right.
they blew a lot of things out of proportion. They did bring up some valid points. We do objectify Richard a lot. We believe in what he says, but when the guy's right all the time, it's hard not to.
Hmm.
Until he becomes wrong on a lot of the things he says, it's hard not to look up to that and to repeat what he says. I don't think we treat it like a religion. It maybe some people do, but there's nothing wrong with a group of like-minded people that are spreading the good word. That's essentially all it is. We want other people to experience what we have, and it's pretty sound. It's a pretty sound smart contract that has no middleman. There's a lot of things that are very, very good about it, and that's why we share it like we do, and we're pretty passionate about it. So I don't know.
Well,
I thought the take on it, they kind of went off on the tangent of Richard, being a spam king or whatever it was. They went into that. They went into him having fake passports. They went into there
the
was a
stuff
lot
that
of
we
other.
all know already.
Yeah, we already know it's 3 years old. This stuff has already come out. We know his name is Richard Schuler.
Yeah.
All that stuff. It's just, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
why I don't even want to advertise it. But if you want to look it up and find it on your own, um, have at it. But just take it with a
Well,
grain of salt.
it's likely a good piece of content for that channel, which I'm not going to blame anybody really for doing, I guess.
Yeah,
But to
sure.
me, the reason it's not important is because it focused more on whether or not Hex has a cult-like flavor to it with the people involved in it, and comparing Richard Hart to, not that they said this, to like a David Koresh, Jim Jonesian type figure, I guess, drinking the Kool-Aid. But I don't care about that. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's about what is the product and what is the smart contract. And there's literally a section in that piece that says, like, I'm not going to get into the finer aspects of the smart contract. Well, why? What can you please? Obviously, to entertain your audience, you're not going to sit there and dissect a DeFi protocol smart contract. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to be part of what
Right.
you're going to air in that little documentary, whatever you want to call it. They're going to focus more on how some of this looks cultish to them. And here's
Sure.
what I'll say, you being a day one Hexican. Now, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I love the things that Richard says. I think he's one of the most educated people in crypto and DeFi. And yeah, I love listening to him, especially when, and I'm not necessarily criticizing him for this, but whenever he's not necessarily arguing against somebody else and just breaking something down on his own, so he doesn't even have the chance to be confrontational or anything, and he can just straight spit facts. That's
Mhm.
like my favorite version of him.
Oh yeah.
But I agree with you, because he has proven all that and has seemingly superior knowledge than 99.9% of people that talk about crypto that we ever hear. That's why people, seem to worship the ground the guy walks on. I mean, this is still a small market that not a lot of the world is invested in. And he's one
Right.
of the very few people that actually do understand it,
Yeah.
and you don't see that very often. Now, as far as I know, he's not trying to have sex with our wives or, tell us to, I'm trying to think of some of the other things those guys do, but yeah, I get why an onlooker would think it looks cultish and stuff like that. I, as somebody who is not invested in Hex from day one, don't share that, like, I guess, blind allegiance. But to me, that's even more telling of the legitimacy of he and this product in Hex, that I don't share that. And I independently and objectively have come to it to really value the things that he says, value Hex, value the other products that he's working on. Now, I'm
Right.
not somebody who's like all in necessarily on Hex. It's part of what I invest in, which to me, I mean, if you want to call me part of a cult by that, go ahead. It's, one thing that I invest in. So I really don't care.
Yeah. Anyway,
But
that's yeah. That's about all the time I'd like to give that one anyway. I mean
yeah.
I,
Well, to me, it's not legitimate because, like, it doesn't talk about anything I care about. Like,
right.
if you want to dissect a smart contract and talk about why the product's garbage, I'm all ears. You know what I mean? If
Well,
there's like,
and that was one of the things that the guy said. He didn't even want to get into the specifics of
yeah.
the contract. He didn't want to talk about
So,
that.
so who cares?
Yeah.
It's
Let's
that
let's
that's
let's bash these people instead of finding out what they're really doing, and how it really works. Maybe if they had
right.
done that and spent some time on it, uh, we might have a new cult member.
Exactly. Yeah.